I don't know anymore. Is it, this whole search for clearing stuff and integrating stuff and equalizing stuff. I don't know.
You're breaking up. I don't know if it's my country internet.
Yeah, it's probably yours. Can you hear? Can you hear?
Yours is good?
Yeah, mine's good. How about yours?
Okay, then it's probably mine. I'm out in the country.
Yeah, you're not coming through.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me try my iPad. Sometimes that works better. Hold on.
Okay. Well, today's a tech problem day, so there must be a lot of energy. A lot of energy in the air. The last show, we only went about 37 minutes because of the technical difficulties. We'll see what happens here. Let's put our energy into it. Oh, you're back. You just appeared out of nowhere.
That's right.
Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens.
Oh.
We'll stay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've all come too. That's right. We've all come too far to stop now. Why come all this way and stop? We got to give it a shot.
Okay. Let me see if I can get the stream on this one. Oh yeah. You know what? It's just as crappy over here.
Yeah.
Well, so far I can hear you.
Okay. Well, let's work through it. Yeah, let's work through it. Let's
roll with it. Yeah.
Our energy will bring equilibrium, all of our energy.
There we go.
So,
yeah.
You got it. So, Ravinder Gill's in the house. Did I pronounce that right? Did I pronounce your name right? Ravinder?
And now we froze.
Oh.
Oh, you're back.
Let's see if this is going to work. Let's see if this is going to work. Your name's pronounced Ravinder?
Ravinder.
Ravinder.
Yeah.
Ravinder.
Yeah, so it's like the sun god Ravi, so it's Ravinder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ravinder. Yeah, that's very cool. So we've never met. We've interacted, I know, on Facebook a little bit.
Yeah, we haven't met.
And I know that you're very good friends with Franco Di Nicola and Kimberly Ross, but we won't hold that against you.
Well, Franco's been a big part of my ship, so I'm really grateful to both of them.
Yeah, they've just really, I mean, truly, since the beginning of last year, I don't know of anyone who's been as consistent. And really created, they've created such a little library and Akashic record of the last 15 months. And that's probably as pure an intel source as anything in the multiverses, in this transition that we call ascension here. Before we got on, you said, I apologize to you. And I said, I'm sorry it took so long because I know I rescheduled. I've only canceled like 4 days, and since the first of the year, and probably the year before, I probably didn't even cancel 4. But I feel like it today. But I also know that when things are the gnarliest, I think, or narkiest is what you said. That's what I want to go back to. I think it's when our best opportunity.
Murky.
Yeah, murky. Yeah, when things are the murkiest is our best opportunity to find our way. We're not going to do it sitting still. But what did you mean by that? How long did you go through the murkiness? Was it in 2021? Yeah.
The murky comes and goes, don't you find? Like I find when you're practicing the energy, you really high. And then all of a sudden, something that's tethering you from low frequency will come to the surface and go, hey, I need to come over here and look at me. And so yeah, January and February were heavy. Like lots of child core belief stuff coming up. And I work with a lot of people one-on-one, and I do group work as well. So a lot of people were having that same kind of issue where all of a sudden real deep core beliefs. And yeah, it's been fun. And then at some point, I woke up in the middle of the night. There's this heavy cloud, dark cloud of energy in front of me. I'm like, oh, what's this? It was something from my father, something from my father's lineage. And then I had to bring that in and transmute it. And now it's been a lot of people are experiencing, and myself experiencing a lot of shifting with the heart. And today's been, the last 3 or 4 days have been amazing, like really flying high. So I guess it just depends on what's hitting you where.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is, it's getting questioned more than anything is our belief systems. And
yeah,
that's creating a lot of questions and a lot of chaos. But that's what's the root of birth, right?
Sure.
Bringing disorder into order.
Bringing disorder into order. And it's really been fun in some ways. Like, I don't know about you, but in some ways, it's the past 12, 14 months have been some of the most fun I've ever had.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Yeah. You can say, right? Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then
it cut out.
Yeah. So recently I was sitting with some heavy stuff. And what came up was,
right.
There's like this whole program in the collective. It was really heavy for a few days. And then I really was like, okay, fine, I'll sit with it, because sometimes you don't feel like sitting with it. And so I sat with it, and it was all kinds of stuff in the collective around slavery of all kinds, just feeling trapped in your jobs, feeling trapped in medieval eras, women feeling trapped as having to be mothers and having to be caregivers back in the day when women couldn't work and women weren't allowed to provide for themselves, and they had to rely on the men. That was coming up. And then for men, what was coming up was like the heaviness and the burden of having to carry the family, of having to carry the children and the wife, back in the day when they would have to do that. And so I was working through that stuff. It was really interesting because it's in like every lineage in the collective.
Yeah. Yes.
Hello, is anybody there?
Yes. I heard everything you said. Yes, it's perfect. I love what you're saying. You can't hear me? Well, we heard you. Here, let me send her a note and I'll tell her we heard her. Yeah, she's talking about, let's see, we hear you. Or we did anyway.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, there you are.
Todd, you're frozen over here.
Okay.
So I'll just keep talking then.
Okay.
Yeah, so I really sat with it, and I called it the bad gene because it seemed like everybody had it, and it's been going through the lineage. And it's not about you feeling trapped, but it's about what you're carrying, what you've actually been carrying subconsciously in your lineage. So it's about clearing it in the lineage and clearing it in your imprint. So that's sort of what was coming up. And it was really old stuff. Like, we're living in a modern era now where women obviously can do what they want, but there still is a semblance for everybody sometimes that they have to be a slave to their job, or they have to be, a lot of women still feel really trapped by motherhood and the obligations of it because they don't have the support because we've lost community. So all of that stuff was really coming up to be released, right? So I just find that right now, so much of what's coming up is really old, really low frequency stuff that's keeping us tethered. It's like, we're trying to raise our vibration and expand, and then all of a sudden something else that still is anchoring us starts to show up, that goes, hey, I need some, I need you to see me, you know, it's coming to the light and saying, let's clear it.
Yes.
So that's been fun. It gets, you know, it's interesting, but it's so beautiful once it transmutes, and it's such a powerful feeling. So I've been playing with that and playing with the light codes that are coming in and the plasma energies, and really sitting with them and allowing them to come in and feeling how they're working, where they're working, how they actually want to be in communion with us. And that really amplifies their impact. So that's been a really fun thing to play with. And so, yeah, that's some of the work I've been doing, playing with the Arcturians. There's these little miniature Arcturians that have been coming in with the codes, and doing a lot of shifting internally in our physical bodies, and really amplifying everything and helping with that shift to go into the silica stage and more. And they have such a reverence for life, of any living being. They have such a reverence, and when their energy comes in, it just almost brings me to tears, because there's just such an unconditional love, source of love that they're bringing, and it's fun to play with.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Can
you hear me?
Can everyone still hear me? Is it
Yes.
glitching? What's happening?
Here, let me write her a note. This is funny. Hang on. Hang on. Don't go nowhere.
Not sure here. Let's clear the energy.
We can hear you. I'm
Todd,
gonna go
anything you want to ask, or should I just keep talking?
Again. How's that? Can you hear me? No. So she can't hear me.
Okay, how about we do this?
Okay, we'll do this. Here, hang on.
Let's play with this. I've been playing with this with some of my clients lately that I do one-on-one sessions with, and it's been really interesting and eye-opening what's been coming up. So what I've been doing is looking at resistance that you don't know is there, because some of it is so unconscious and non-conscious that you can't know that it's there. So it's just a fun tool to play with. Oh my gosh, Todd, that's so funny. Yeah, I can't hear you at all.
I know.
So it's a technique that I've been using where we get a chance to see how much resistance is there. And I just love using myself as a guinea pig. So that's what I've been doing. Yeah. So you go in and you make this statement out loud, and then you go in and see with your inner voice what number you get. Okay, you don't use your logical mind for the number. So you're going to look for a number on a scale of 1 to 10 to see where you're at in terms of if you're you're 100% committed, or if you're just 70% committed. So just ask this question to yourself out loud, or sorry, make this statement to yourself out loud and just see what number you get. So just say, I'm fully committed to my ascension process. And say that out loud and see what number you get on the inside with your inside voice.
I am fully committed to the ascension process.
I'm going to see if I can connect via this phone. So what I was finding is that, surprisingly, for a lot of us, it wasn't a 10. It was sometimes a 4. Some people had 6s. Some people had 7s. It was a lot lower than what people thought. So they would be surprised to think that, because they thought they were doing so much work. And then we look at what some of the blocks are that are coming up that are maybe making it only a 7 or making it only a 4. Because the more of us that can do that, the more committed that we can be, the faster this whole thing is going to go. And yeah, so people who thought they were really committed to the process found out that there were some unconscious beliefs that were still getting in the way, some feelings around the world or money or things of that sort that were stopping them from being like fully on board with the process. And that was very eye-opening for a lot of the people. So a lot of the things that were coming up for people, a big one was family. And I think a lot of people on this show probably have already worked through that. But for women with children, they were having a tough time navigating where they were at and where their kids were at, because some of them have kids who are fully on board with wanting to get the jabby thing or fully on board with what they're seeing on mainstream media. And, you know, the mom is on a different path. And so trying to navigate how to keep parenting is a really interesting role in that moment. And that was one of the ones that came up. And what came to me was, you're the tuning fork. So if you know that your children are meant to be on this path, and in this one instance, these 2 children do have a soul agreement to go through the shift, then yeah, you be the tuning fork. You do your work, keep doing your work, and then your vibration is going to go out to them, and then they're going to start to feel it, and it's going to allow them to start to amp up and meet you eventually where you are. If you have children who don't have that soul agreement, then yeah, that is definitely an interesting role to play, right? And then having to process that, especially with younger children or teenagers, having to process that and figure out just getting neutral to it and knowing it's okay that your children have their own divine path and going on that path, and you're going to continue carrying out what you need to do. And the day-to-day of it can definitely be an interesting challenge. And the day-to-day of it, of saying to somebody, oh, well, you know, I want to go outside. I don't want to go here because it requires me wearing a mask. And you, as the parent, are maybe wanting to have your friends over because you're not believing in this whole, you know, virus situation that's going on. And then the child playing the role of then saying, how can you, or how can you be so against what the world is saying? The whole world is saying that this is the way it should be. So it's a really interesting role then to play with your children, where you're trying to be your sovereign being self, and your children are fully into a different realm. And how to navigate that, and just it's such beautiful practice to get to neutrality when you're having to navigate that. So that was one of the blocks that came up. Another one that came up was money, and worry around money, because we still live on a planet that requires this thing called money to feed ourselves and house ourselves and everything right now. So it's like, do I leave my job? Do I not leave my job? And I was guided to leave my job at the end of January of last year, because I knew this time was coming to be what it is. So I left my role and as January 31st, 2020, and stepped more into doing this work, and also really working on myself, because yeah, there's a lot of work to do, right, for all of us. So that's another one of, how do I feed my children? How do I have a house over my head, but have this job that I no longer am in alignment with, right?
Yeah.
And that is where, as the pressure increases on us from the external world with being restricted in this way and restricted in that way. It's going to actually then play a beautiful role of making us create communities, right? Because right now we're all kind of doing our own separate thing, and we have this idea that we want to create community, but it isn't really coming about. And with community, it's not going to be that one person has all the resources to go and buy the land or what have you. It's going to need to be a joint effort. And it's being designed where not one person is going to be able to do it. It's being perfectly designed, so it has to be a cooperative effort for us to create those communities. And that way we can pool resources easier. And it's going to be quite a learning curve, right, to be able to do all that. But that is when leaving those jobs will make it easier. Some people, the jobs are just going to fall to the wayside anyway. And that is actually when we are really going to have to come together to form community. So that's another big one that was coming up. And then another one was fear. And a lot of people were surprised to find that there was fear there. And it was so deep, and it was a deep level of, I've done this before, in the sense of not to the level we're expanding now. Like now we're expanding to that level of becoming a whole other level of human, right? But since Lemuria, since all of that, Atlantis, we've kind of battled this inverted 3D reality in one way, shape, or form, even getting to the point of having the Magna Carta created during medieval era when the kings were really out of control, and the people came together, the peasants came together and said, enough is enough. We need rights, right? So we've been battling it from that little human place and that little human frequency, and now I just got mind wiped. I forget what I was going to say. Oh yeah, so that fear is still there. That fear is still there, that, oh my gosh, I'm going to end up with another big confrontation. Even though on a conscious level, we know that is not how we're approaching this at all. This is not about confrontation at all, or polarity, right? So finding that old fear of past lives where you've come in and you've tried to create change, and you've tried to help. I've had so many past lives here where I've done like social justice work, because there was no other sort of way at the time. It was polarity, like you kind of had to fight the system. But now we have the opportunity of shifting things from becoming the bigger human. And that is the way we're going to really shift it, is by becoming that bigger human version of ourselves. So the fear was really fun, and just bringing that up. And then I noticed that a lot of people still have it, not consciously. Consciously, a lot of people are super about going through this process and doing what they can. Unconsciously, being tethered by some of these lower frequency programs we have, right? That we may not be aware of. So playing with all of that stuff. What else? Oh, a week and a half ago, a lovely energy came in that said, just check out already. Why are you here? It's too painful. It's too hard. Just check out. And I was like, oh, this is fun. And it came with a level of fatigue, of holding space for all of this. I don't know if you guys were feeling that, but it just, this has been going on for so long, really, but has obviously just intensified in this past year. And then we're holding space for it, right? As we work on ourselves, we're also holding space for it. And then this sort of fatigue coming in at times. Sometimes it's really easy to process that fatigue and then just realign yourself back in. At other times, there's a fatigue of, oh my gosh, how much longer? How much more of this do we have to do or be? And then it's like sometimes there's almost you feel a little bit of tiredness and despair. about everything going on.
Mm.
And when people get to that level, then our friends who are playing the other role bring in frequencies through satellites, etc., to play on those ideas, right? So then they brought in a frequency that was a checkout frequency. Why don't you guys just check out? It's getting hard, isn't it? You don't need to be here. You can probably do more work on the other side. And I was like, wow, where is this coming from? And I had a few days of just being super depressed and not wanting to talk to anybody. And some friends had a dinner party. Like, yeah, no, can't be there. And then I was like, wait a minute, this isn't even my stuff. It's not mine. It was parents being brought in to a lot of different people, and to sort of give them that message to say, yeah, just check out, you know. And at the same time, we all know he specifically chose to come here at this time, right? So then it was like, time to process this one now. So worked through processing that one, and I know it's really affecting children, especially because the psychological impact of these rolling lockdowns, depending on the area you're in, like obviously if you're in parts of the states like Texas or Florida, you're good, but where I live here, not severe with the lockdowns. So and the star seeds who have never really wanted to be here for most of their lives are also really feeling it and getting to that place of saying, no, I'm supposed to be here at this time. I really actually want to be here at this, and if it may not feel like it sometimes.
That's excellent.
So
excellent. You can't see me, can you?
Yeah, that's some of the stuff that I've been playing.
Wow.
On that note, oh, Todd, did I hear you for a second?
Did you hear me? Test, test,
no,
test.
I didn't.
Wait a minute. Let's try this. How's that?
Where learn how to work with the codes that come in and amplify them, and have them even work on certain areas of your body that you may have some imbalances in or illnesses in, as they amplify the rest of you. So that can be really helpful. And I'm going to have a 4-week program coming up where we just work on these lower frequencies that are still tethering us down, so that we can not let them tether us anymore, right? And start to up without raising up and then having these tethers come in and pull us back down again. We still need to transmute this and play with that. So I'm going to be doing that soon. It's I'm keeping it really, really inexpensive, and also clearing out like the walls of resistance. So I don't know about you guys, but when I go into meditation and I start to bring in the codes, I'll find it'll amplify to a certain degree, and then there's like this resistance that happens. And at other times, I've gone through periods where I've just really amplified it into like a really, really big being. And then there are times where that stops, and then those resistance walls show up again. And I know a lot of people have them, and a lot of the people that I've worked with one-on-one talk about them. They're like, oh, I just feel like this, I can't get past this wall. And they're all walls of fear-based programs that we've put in because the ego is saying, no, 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 it's too scary to raise your frequency beyond this point because it wasn't safe to do so in the olden days, when you would be made fun of for being too woo-woo, and of course all the lineages of persecutions of people who were different, right? Witches, you were called a witch or what have you. So those fear walls are getting in the way of us really amplifying. So dissolving those walls really, really is an important thing right now. And playing with the energies that come in and learning how to amplify more, activating them more. It's so fun and it feels so cool when that happens. And learning to connect with that, our Arcturian family is really miniature versions of the Arcturians that are working with all of this to shift this. So I'm doing a 4-week, once a week live. It'll be for about an hour, hour and a half, and also providing support for anyone who's going through the murky or feeling a little bit concerned or worried. So it starts Thursday, April 22nd. So we will allow people to sign up a week beforehand. So if that resonates with you, just go to my website, soulworkmethod.ca, and you can sign up there. I'm keeping it super, super low cost, just to make it as affordable for everyone. And if you feel it resonates with you and you want to join, but even then, that's such money. Just reach out, just email or Facebook, and we can work something out. Yeah. Hi.
She can't hear us. I'm going to tell her hi.
Todd, I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. You can.
I can hear you now.
What? This is crazy. You know, you just got to work with the energies.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here watching you. Go ahead. There's a little bit of a lag. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I've never sort of monologued away like this on a live stream. This is interesting.
Well, I think this is what happens. I think there's so much you said that could apply to what just happened. I mean, it's like you're looking at this as a delight. I mean, one of the things we can measure ourselves by certainly is our smile. Smile, and if we're not smiling and we're not happy, it's us, right? I mean, it's that resistance you're talking about. It's the download, the information comes in, you can take it into a certain level, then it starts to hit some resistance, and that's what you were describing. One of the many things you were describing so well a minute ago. But you got to understand, the other part of it too is these seemingly technical things, the frequencies, the visuals, the audio. I'm sitting here watching you at the beginning of the show, and that pot that's on over your right shoulder, I swear to you, you were holding it. Yeah, you were holding it in your hand like this.
Oh, really?
As you were at the very beginning, as you were talking to me, you were appearing and disappearing. I mean, it sounds like it's a glitch, but if anything, it's a glitch in the matrix. And what we're doing is we're glitching through now. And one of the big things, thank you for reminding us and helping us to understand it. One of the big things is, is how we look at these things presented to us. It's not a bad world. It's not a bad job. It's not a bad person. It's not a bad this. It's not a bad that. It's information and an opportunity, and you approach it with no problem with it. I mean, you have no problem with it. It's an opportunity. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I love just all of keeping the end goal in mind. And, I don't think any of us really know what our potential is. Every once in a while, I'll get a sense of it, and it blows me away. Yeah. And we literally are like super technology, like our bodies, our connection with our souls. It is some of the most advanced technology definitely in this quadrant of the universe. I don't know, maybe even in the whole universe. And we've just been told how to turn that supercomputer on, and that's it. And we weren't given the instruction manual on how to use the
No kidding, right?
supercomputer, right? So we're just
No kidding.
all crawling around in the dark, trying to figure it out. But I just keep that end goal in mind because it's phenomenal. And if we stop, right? Usually it's just temporary because sometimes we just get fatigued.
Yeah.
But I know there are some light workers who've gone from, they've shifted back and they've gone sort of backwards a bit. Because if you do even watch the mainstream even a little bit, the hypnotic frequencies are so powerful that even if I watch the news for 5 minutes, and I don't, but sometimes my partner likes to watch the news. So if I'm in the same room, my heart will start palpitating. And I know this is all BS. But all of a sudden, I'm filled with this fear that, oh my gosh, the world's coming to an end and this virus is killing everybody, even though, I really know that's not the case. And so holding that end goal in mind is what keeps me going. I don't know about you.
Yeah. I don't know. I literally know less every day. And I'm dead serious. Things happen every day.
Yeah.
There's a higher level of clarity, and I almost hesitate to say that word, but because it's a whole new clarity for sure. It certainly seems like there's more involved with it, but at the same time, all these other parts of me are falling off, and it's a bit, it's a bit of a jolt. Balance, imbalance, balance, imbalance. So,
Yeah.
just staying active has been essential, but it hasn't been easy. But at the same time, uh, it's more like just trying to keep my balance with everything coming and going. Like there's multiple streams going, and there's multiple things happening at the let's say the human at the multi aspect level, and there's a whole bunch of stuff happening at the multi-human level, coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. Thoughts are changing. The thought process is changing. I think this is, and several people have said this in the last week or so. I have no sense of time. This is the biggest one, and it's not over.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, it's not over. In fact, Franco's stuff and 3 or 4 other credible people that have come on the show in the last 10 days have all said it's going right up to the end of May. And to me, I feel like we might be in the middle of it. And the best thing I can do is keep my mouth shut, observe as much as I can, and spend as much time as I need to stay in balance. And that, for me, is requiring total solitude and really grounding and anchoring.
Totally. I totally hear you. I kind of, I left the city 6 months ago because I just knew for me to do what I needed to do for myself, I needed to be in solitude. So I'm out in the country. My partner's in the city, and I have some days where I don't get out of my bathrobe, and that's okay. Because that's what sometimes it's requiring, right? Like in terms of some of the murkiness of it. And then you go through it, and because there's just so much.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's all coming and going. And I don't know about you. All right. I want to ask you this. All right. So we've all worn all the different faces. And these are faces of, let's say, post activation, post download, post energy kicking your fucking ass, or whatever the case is, right? And you come out of it and you get, hey, I'm great, man. I'm in bliss all the time. Or you get all these different answers. And what I'm finding is when I come out, and it's actually not even happening. Like, here's a big one. You go through it, you come out. It's more like, here's a big one. You're going through it. Another one starts coming in. You can already see it, maybe even feel it. You come out of the first one, and then the other one hits you. So it's accelerating. But what I'm finding when I come out is that there's no stories running in the head, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no um, there's no hard driven agenda voice driving Todd. There's just, and then there's not a lot of chatter unless I get hit again or whatever the case is. There's just this weird space. This has been for a few weeks. And really, like you said earlier, January and February kind of set the table for that. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
It definitely gets heavy. But you know what I find? I find even if I'm really going, getting into some of the warming up, I'll go and listen to a meditation. I'll either listen to one of my own, I'll listen to one of Franco's, I'll listen to somebody's, and realign myself with my own soul, right? Because when you're in the murky, you're back in the little human, and being in the little human, you're forgetting the bigger picture when you're in the murky of it. And
Right.
so when I do that, or I'll just really connect with the plasma energies again and bring them in, because they will also just raise your vibration where the murky starts to still point out with that, and then it becomes easier to handle.
How do you feel? How do you feel when you come out of them? Like, do you feel like you come out of them, or is what I was trying to describe?
Oh,
like
I see what you
natural.
mean.
Like,
Yeah.
how do you? I mean, like, I'm looking for signs of balance and signs of, like, to me, a smile. That tell, if I'm not smiling, I'm not balanced. Of
Yeah.
course, projection and letting your imagination run wild, or watching to, I sat in this room and outside for most of the last 4 or 5, 6 days with both the computers off, unless I was working.
Yeah.
Which I couldn't even hardly work unless I was doing the show. So I'm trying to find the vibration, of fluidity,
Yeah.
and seamlessness, so that regardless of how quick these things are coming in, I'm processing them without a lot of fluctuation. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's when I'll go and do a process. And I find the process will realign me. So even though there's murky going on, the process will realign me and raise me back up and bring that bigger perspective of who I am back in, and change the level of the murky. And sometimes I know that the murky needs to be there for a few days. So I just go, okay, I roll with it. It's fine. And then there are other times where there's weeks and weeks of being in the bliss. And I don't think we don't necessarily need to judge it or feel bad about it. It's, sometimes we need to go into the mud and clear stuff out, and it doesn't feel very comfortable.
No, that's what I'm saying. What does it feel like now? Because what things were a month ago aren't what they are today, and so on and so on and so on. But like,
it's going so much faster.
Yeah, like, I don't know what it's going. It's like everything's going. Every point of reference and context to anything that's old is going away, and that's like so deep and such a. I mean, think of all the infinitesimal parts of our makeup that have been basically regulated by all of these different implants or programs or effects of many things. I mean, so we're doing some badass work. We're doing some great work.
We sure are.
And that's right.
There's,
We
there's a
really
level
are.
of surrender in it all that for me really helps. Instead of resisting it or feeling like, oh, geez, more murky coming up. It's like, oh, look, another layer. Awesome. Let's play with this.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. You're like delighted when you greet these things. You like when you're talking about it the first. You're delighted to see them. I mean,
Yeah, because I know it's like, okay, great, another layer we can clear because it does feel good on the other side, and then you can go right, you can go back up. I find there's that neutrality that happens, and then you can shift back up and reconnect with what's already there and what's already playing out in you in terms of the higher amplified energies
yeah.
and connect with that again.
Do you ever get like, like where you come out of one of these rushes and you're just like in this place because it's such a powerful thing, and the higher you go, the higher your ego goes, and then the universe
Yeah,
comes in, yeah, and then the universe comes in and says, "Oh, you're not that smart. Excuse me, like here's a piece of humble pie," kind of thing.
yeah, bam. Yeah, yeah, that definitely happens. And then there are moments where you're not, you can't access clarity, or you can't access um, what's coming next, right? And because everything is in flux,
Hmm.
and then that's an interesting feeling when you're like, okay, let's see what's coming next, and then all of a sudden it's kind of like a blank slate,
Hmm.
and then you're kind of like, oh, geez. Um, but there definitely is that thing where you have moments where you can go really inferior or really superior with the ego, right? The ego
Yeah,
can say, oh, you're nothing, you don't know anything, who do you think
yeah,
you are, and play that role. Or the ego can say, oh, I'm all that, play that
that's right.
role.
And everybody's asleep. Everybody's asleep at me, right? It's this is I honestly still feel like we're in the middle of this thing, and it's
Yeah,
and the perspective, I think the presence and the perspective is vital, because it's like we're having to think on our feet, like you said. You go from one moment of this, and then all of a sudden you don't know what's coming, or there is a state of flux. And again, this isn't just like a singular or a dual kind of experience anymore. It's like there's 6, 8, 9, 12 streams. You got stuff coming and you got stuff going at the same time, while your brain computes everything that's happening. From the old programming of the human, where we've got to
yeah,
understand everything or explain everything.
yeah,
I just find myself in this space of, I, like I'm a candle, and
yeah.
and there's a big cauldron of candle wax, right?
Hmm.
Like in a pot, and they just drop the candle into the boiling wax, and it just melts. Like nothing to think about, nothing. I don't know, this space that I'm feeling. Have you had anything like that happen where I'm talking about especially recently,
Mhm.
where you've been out of body in a different way, or uh, where there's a physical experience where there's some kind of non-physical stuff physicalizing? You know what I mean? Like where
Non-physical.
almost like where the two worlds are blending together, and you're consciously awake.
I've had moments lately where I got really disoriented because it felt like an old version of me was shifting out.
Hmm.
Is that sort of what you mean?
Yeah, that could
And
be that. Yeah.
and like a
I,
new version, not even a new version, but a version that's always been there that I just didn't have contact with
yeah.
is
Yeah.
um is showing up. and it literally felt like a shear, like a strain as one was starting to move over. And I was out walking. I'm close to a lake right now, and it's beautiful. So I was out walking on a lake, and I almost fell over. And I was with my partner, and he's like, "You okay?" And I was like, "Oh, my soul's not here.
My soul's not here.
My soul's not here."
Wow.
And then we walked back, and I had to sort of check as to why it wasn't there. And yeah, and so then it was like this heavy interference that was happening on the one hand, but on the other hand, it was like a part of me was leaving, an old version was leaving. And I find that sometimes I'm kind of resisting it, and at other times I'm fully surrendering to it and letting it be.
It's definitely
And
at times
yeah.
that was a lag. I didn't know you were still talking. It's definitely it's definitely something different every day. No doubt about that.
The fun part is that you can feel your expansion more when you do get murky and get into the expansion. You can feel it more. You can feel other people more. You know, like I felt when you came in to tap into me. I was like, "Oh, look, hi, Todd." And I felt when Morgan came in to tune in, right? And I was like, "Oh, this is so fun because we can all connect at those levels."
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just it's a beautiful feeling when you can do that and know that that's what's coming, you know, more and more for everybody.
Yeah. It's a deep dive for a deep rise. You know?
Todd, are you gone?
No, I'm here. I am gone. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. This is what happened.
Okay, I'll just say something. The other thing that was really fun was about a week ago. Oh, I heard you laugh.
You there?
Yeah, I
Same
heard
thing.
you.
You did. Yeah, the same thing happened on the last show. It only lasted 37 minutes. How crazy is this? Well, we've actually almost got to the end, but God, I was going to ask you something.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I'm trying to remember now. Oh, I was just when you couldn't hear me. I said this is definitely a deep dive that's resulting in a you know a deep rise. And it's just even the to me, like, even the processes are the sequential aspect of the processes, or the way things happen, like awareness, download, you know, integration, you know what I mean? Whatever that process, these processes we've been familiar with the last few years, it doesn't feel the same now to me. It feels like it's one big process with a bunch of little processes going on within it. So there's these almost frenetic alterations in pace and like direction and frequency and speed, and I don't know. It's just like it's all over the place to me. It feels like I said, I still feel like we're in the middle of it, and I feel like something huge.
We are in the middle of it.
Yeah. Do you feel like, what do you feel like, or do you feel like, because I know you follow Franco, and he says ultimate, in so many words, actually he says May 15th, and then May 15th, it really starts to take off from there. A few of the people I was telling you about, Yvonne said the other day, it's all the way through the end of May. Regardless of what the exact date is or isn't, Do you feel like there's going to be a huge expansion come second half of May? Are you feeling that?
I'm not sure. What I am feeling is that there's another bandwidth now that we have access to in this timeline of where 70% of the population survives and 70% goes through the shift, and it's a much smoother and easier transition. And
Well, say that again. You said 75. Can you say that again?
yeah, where 70% of the population goes through the shift.
Okay.
So I'm just we have access to that bandwidth now before, and it's
Okay.
when I allow myself to tap into that, it's a
Yeah.
very higher to be. But it does
Yeah.
feel with spring, there's something in the energy where the energies feel
Yeah.
like they're pressurizing and coming to something, something's burst. I haven't really tapped into May being the time, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
70% is a big percentage. That's a big
Yeah,
percentage compared to the percentages of people that pull in that kind of intel have talked about over the years on the show, in terms of any part of this transition. But just I think like what I get from what you're saying and everything else is, it's there. Like,
yeah,
in other words, if you say 70% of the people are clued into it, but you might be surprised who is clued into it and who's not. You know what I mean? I guess what I'm trying to say is, regardless of whatever comes down, we could be in either we could be on either side of any equation like that, right? I mean, that's part of that
yeah.
humility and part of that reverence and honor and respect and love that goes with a continued expansion, is to uh, see everything as you, potentially, even those things that you think you're not.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was very heartwarming to me to see that we have access to that timeline now, if we choose.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that felt really good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw a little bit of that last night. I started to watch it. I'm not sure if you're referring to his last, uh, whatever you call it. I think it was a session 81 or 80 or something like that. But he talked about. I saw it on the board. It said 68%, and I had it
Mm-hmm.
over here. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. It's huge internal stuff going on. I think is one way I'd put it. I mean, it's like I can. There's a physicality to the energetics within my body that I've never felt before. I mean, like getting
That's
going on
powerful.
a roller coaster, and when you go over the other side, and your stomach drops, it's like that. And I swear to you, 10 days. I don't even know. 12 days, 14 days. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I thought I was having a heart attack last night.
So that's happening a lot. I felt that way a couple nights ago as well.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's like we're going quantum with all this energy change.
I don't know. That's why I said I wake up. When you ask me, what do you think? I'm like, I wake up, I know less. And I know that sounds like I'm making a joke, but I'm not. I'm not. I tried to do some serious meditation last night and really go to the deepest part of my essence and just come out from there and just, you know, expand through all the multiverse, from each point, each segment, each quadrant, and just try to like, I don't know, try to be the energy that I am, and just do that, as opposed to
That's beautiful.
having the internal dialogue, or you know, distracting myself, or whatever the case is. And I talk about these things because on this show, because not because it's my life, it's because this is the point of the show. What's it feel like for you? What's it feel like for you when you come out of a deep integration? Do you feel all jolly like Santa Claus? Do you feel like shit? Do you have physical symptoms? I mean, this information is vital for all of us, and that's why Franco's work is so important, because it commenced with 2020 up to now, and this has been the most important part of our journey, where we have the most golden information, which is really in that mixture of everything being pulled in and all the distraction and distortion here.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the universe is going to force us to see everything as ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just give that lip service. You can't fake it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Bruce is funny. If you ain't pooped in your pants yet, what are you talking about? So
It sounds like you're really going through a powerful losing your identity process, Todd.
I don't know what it is.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
I don't, I'm like, hey, no, I'm like in between shows, sitting in front of the forest, or sitting in this chair, close my eyes. I feel that what I described to you. I just feel it. I just allow it. And I ain't done. I ain't done. It doesn't feel done. It feels halfway done, and it's coincided with the
Yeah.
last 3 or 4 weeks. But I also know what you said earlier, what somebody else said today, and I've heard several people say on comments, that from the get-go, from the first part of March, I knew, and I don't know these things, but I knew this. It felt very, very collective, but having to be done through the personal, like the personal ownership, the personal responsibility, the personal declaration that I am soul, and that everything I see is me, and everything that comes to me is a gift to me. Just like you are so delighted with, and the way you tell your story at the top of the show about how these things pop in. I mean, my heart was. I thought I was having a heart attack last night. I got hit with something. I got triggered. I didn't get angry. I took 10 minutes. I felt the pain. I sat in a chair, looked at the trees, and everything was okay for what was the catalyst. And then I went into the gift that it's offered. And again, it's one
Beautiful.
more wave inside a container of a big giant wave. And there's many other little ones inside of the container. So I don't know how this is. I don't know how you can explain any of it, to be honest with you.
It's a journey. It's an interesting journey. Just here to experience it.
Well, I like
I was,
Franco's intel and his narrative, for lack of a better word. When I stand in those shoes of myself from that type of perspective, it's it's it kind of takes the human out, and I resist that a little bit, but I know we're supposed to fuse them. And I think that's the key. And that's why we don't know exactly what to do. And no one can explain exactly what the hell's going on, because we're doing something that hasn't been done. And like you said, there's no instruction manual.
there's no instructions. I was using the analogy of labor, and when a woman is in active labor and gets to that point of fatigue
Yeah.
and hopelessness, and even for some women, that point of I just want to die because it's too much, I can't do this. And then you have to really go within and just let that ego out of the way and connect with that inner intelligence that's there, that's already doing the work. It's on automatic pilot.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
going in to that inner stillness, inner deep knowing and surrendering.
Yeah.
And then the body just takes over, and the body does what it knows to do to let the baby be birthed. And it feels like we're just starting that real active labor part.
Damn.
Where it's going to require us to just take the ego out of the way,
Yeah.
the identity of who we are as our little human, and surrender, because so much of this is being done on automatic pilot, right? From our soul, from all the energies that have
Yes.
agreed to be here and come here, and just take our own ideas just out of the picture. And that is our biggest, I think, journey right now, right? Is taking that.
Well, yeah. I mean, God, what a great explanation, and what a great metaphor for those times that can be like now, and many of those times on our journey when the traumas were being dealt with, the dark nights of the soul. So what you said about getting the ego out of the way for the mother to be, and connecting with that part of you that never leaves, that and the automatic pilot part of it, the team, and then the birth is done. The birth becomes. I was, like I said, I mean, I feel like somebody took a vice and just did this to it. It's just open. It's not protected. It's just like, I can't even explain it. It almost like the image of like Superman when he opens his suit to show his S. But I'm not saying that's what I'm doing. I'm just saying it looks like that. Mm-hmm. And so I woke up today and I was like, I actually got up at 4, and then I stayed up for a couple of hours, just in that universal isolation. Got back up, and I came down here and I sat for a long time, and I started to channel, started to write, and then I went back and put it together. But there was something that you said that I wrote that is the same thing about your description about the mother giving birth and what happens. Because I've never done it, but when you described it, I could identify with that feeling. Mm-hmm. When there's that point where you're just like, get me the hell out of here, kill me, right? Energetically. Mm-hmm. So I call it the path of the human. And it says, fear is no match for pain. Grief is the elixir of fearlessness. Pain is what forges the heart until it can't love anymore. Pain is what merges the heart until it can't hate anymore, as they become one. Pain is not eternal to the soul, but soul is eternal to the pain. It holds space ad infinitum for all suffering and all causes. Sovereignty comes from the suffering until suffering is no more. The fire of fear will always fan the flames of fearlessness until fear is no more. We effing got this. But the part that reminded me of what you were saying is when it came to me today, that was the first thing that came to me. Pain is not eternal to the soul, but the soul is eternal to pain. So when you were saying that about the mother, she went to that part of her that is the soul, right? Mm-hmm. That piece inside of us that is there before the shit hits the fan, during and after. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like you said too about the automatic pilot, that's not always easy to remember, but it's true. I wonder, from your perspective, and I've never thought about this, but well, I guess I have in a way, but never a direct question like this to somebody. What do you think it is that the human aspect of us can best offer to the rest of us. And when I say the rest of us, I mean the rest of our aspects, our oversoul in that community, and also what's the best thing we can offer us in terms of all of us.
The only thing that popped into my head was love.
True. That's true. That's true. That's true.
It's just as simple as that may be.
That's true.
What do you feel?
Well, the other little meme I put up this morning is I sat here for thinking I was going to write the new, Bhagavad Gita or whatever you call it. I was like, I'm tuned in and I'm going to write something. And all I could put was, love is the only answer. That's I am soul. Love is the only answer. Heart, heart, heart.
Yeah.
I am soul. And for me, it was a futile attempt to try to describe what you described with the mother giving birth. It was, you said surrender, but to me, it's just love. We might call it surrender in our human experience, but you're just actually being love, right?
You're absolutely right. Because it's from a place of love that the woman is even motivated to surrender, right? Because she really wants this.
Yeah.
There's such a love for the baby inside her already. Yeah. I love your poem. It's so layered. I hope you post it so we can read it.
I did post it. I posted it.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, I haven't written a lot. I haven't been able to write a lot. I haven't, like a lot of people, I haven't been able to do a lot of things for a long time. But
yeah,
I have confidence.
I can totally relate.
I mean, I have confidence in us. I have confidence in what you were saying early in the show about the doing it together. A lot of the community were empaths for, with common characteristics throughout their entire life, to themselves, obviously very sensitive, overgiving. I mean, a lot of different things run in there. And I think there's been a lot of solitude and a lot of that going on over the years. And I think there's been a lot going on in the last 15 months. But I feel the universe is calling us all out. And how can you have oneness if you don't take the steps to have it? When I say that, I mean, I think we've gotten enough information up to this point, April the 7th, 2021, that whatever we need to do with ourselves, we can do it with others as well. Because the only thing stopping us from doing it from a human level is, oh my God, I don't want people to know about this or about that, or I'm too embarrassed to do this or that. And that's what? That's the bare knuckles, boots on the ground programming at the physical, mental, emotional human body. We've got nothing to be scared about because we're all alike.
Yeah. I love that you said that, because for me, it took a long time before I had the impetus to want to even be on sort of more of a public forum. Because I had this idea that you had to be perfect.
Yeah.
I had this idea that certain people that I would watch who resonated, that they had it all figured out, that they were, fully on that path. And
no kidding, right? And look, we can laugh at ourselves when we say that too. I'm not.
And I was like, no, we all have our stuff. We're all here to be human together. Yeah.
But and I wonder, and this is where I'm at right now too. It's like, am I here to be human? Because I mean, there's a fine line with everything. So the old saying, like, well, I'm only human. Well, we're not. And there's enough information, enough downloads, activations, there's enough has happened that we know this. So what do you do with it? Well, we can't go back and go even once or twice. Oh, I only did it once or twice this year. We can't go back to any situation and go, well, I'm only human. No, we have put together both pieces.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're making. We're not leaving the human
Absolutely.
out. We're
Yeah,
not leaving
well
the
said.
human out, and then we're not hiding from the human in our multidimensionality. We're putting them together, and we're building a house of the goddess, right? In ourselves. We're bringing the human and the rest of our aspects together in alignment.
Yeah.
I believe that the human is the last piece of that alignment. And I just wonder, are we transcending or are we aligning? And what is it that the human can best do? And you said it, love, right? And that's not a cliche.
It's, it's been said over and over for a reason, right?
Yeah, no kidding, right?
It's wonderful when we have those moments of a real unified consciousness within us where we can feel that moment of perspective of knowing that we are so much more, and then see how the ego is running the show from making us feel like we're a little human, just to remind us or to give us that knowing for those moments where sometimes when you are in the murky and it feels difficult, to just remember that's not all who you are. There's so much more, so much more.
Yeah. The conversations with the ego, like everything, have expanded and evolved, right? Especially at the acceleration of the last 15 months. I found it for myself that whenever I engage my ego, like not when I'm in an egoic state and I project or, I'm unaware, but when I go, oh, this is what I did. And I say, well, whatever I have to say, but I found it's really important for me when I leave that interaction, that conversation and dialogue, to be carrying that love that you're talking about for that ego, right? Because I find that if I don't, and because I wasn't aware for a long time, that it just played out. If I'm not okay with any part of me, I mean, I know, like, if you listen to Franco's narrative, it's essentially an implant. It's the program but it's still there, and it's still part of me. And everything in that design of this particular part of the universe that he so well describes, and other people, every part of it's me. Every reptilian, every single archon, every single thing is me.
Yeah, beautiful.
And
yeah. And
so
yeah, go ahead.
No. I couldn't hear because it's still lagging. Go ahead.
Yeah, that love is it's such a good reminder, because most of us have played both sides.
Of course we have.
We've played both sides.
Of course we have, even in this incarnation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. That's a great point. That's a really great point, because even if we didn't, physically assault a partner, whatever myriad of examples, right? Energetically, I can rape somebody. Energetically, I can murder somebody. It's an energy. It's a frequency.
Yeah.
It is a bandwidth, right? I mean, I am actually putting something out that's going unchecked. That's like with the thing what I was saying about the ego. I have a conversation with the ego. I leave, and I'd be like going, "F you, ego." Well, "F you, ego" becomes what? It becomes like part of my mentality unconsciously as I'm facing everyone else.
Yeah, we're just creating more stuff for the ego to feed on.
Hey, well, you know what? I love it. It's sitting in one of those baby car seats right now, in the back seat. He's got his baby bottle, and we get along fine. That's all there is to it.
Aw,
And
nice little baby. Nice little baby ego.
right? Yeah. Think of that. I think of that movie Problem Child. Is there anything you want to do before we get out of here? And I put up your website on all the platforms, but let me put it up again. What's the name of it?
It's soulworkmethod.ca.
That's right. Soulworkmethod.ca. Boom. You're in California.
No, I'm in Canada. I'm in Ontario.
Oh, that's Canada. God, what am I thinking? What do I know? I'm still trying to figure out what
California would be nice too. Yeah.
Is there anything you want to do or tell us about before we get out of here, or anything you want to talk about?
If anyone feels called to join me in the group work that starts in a couple of weeks on April 22nd, I would love that. I feel like it can be a real powerful thing for all of us to come together to clear out and dissolve some of those lower frequencies.
Yeah.
It would be nice.
Everything helps. Everything helps. Whatever resonates.
I love what you guys are doing. It's phenomenal. Like such dedication. Such dedication. Wow.
Over here, it's yeah. Well, thank you. Yes. Okay, we're gonna be back. What is it? Ascension Amnesia. Who's on? Who's on? Okay, so
Mind wipes.
Huh? What's that?
Mind wipes.
Right. So in an hour, no, wait a minute. No, in 37 minutes, we'll be back on with Maria Bittencourt, and that'll be it for the day, most likely. Love you.
Love you.
You take care.
Thank you, Todd.
It's good
so great to connect with you.